We're in 2023. We have AI, we have text messaging, we have social media, we have crypto. But it seems to me that picking up the phone and cold calling someone still might be the most effective form of business out there. Let's just talk a little bit about cold calling and how you've thought about cold calling as it's helped build your career.
Yeah, well, I think I'll make one correction, Chris, and that's that there's no replacement. The best form of interaction with somebody is face to face. Nothing takes the place of that. But how many people can you meet face to face in a day, and how many people can you call in a day? So, from an efficiency perspective, cold calling is the best way to get to people, most efficient. But there's no replacement for face to face interaction. And that's why networking is so important also. But, the key to brokerage, I believe, is canvassing, prospecting on the phone. And I block time out always 2 weeks in advance. I block out 2 hour and 3 hour blocks of time where I'm just going to make my calls. I have at least 10 to 12 hours blocked out every week. If you don't block it out 2 weeks in advance, your calendar is going to be so packed of stuff, you're not going to have time to do it. But that is prospecting on the phone is the gasoline that goes into the engine of the car. And if you're not prospecting, I don't see how you get very far. Or at least let's say this: you're not maximizing what your potential is. And you could make $10 million a year and not prospect. I say if you prospected and you're that $10 million a year producer, you probably could make $20 or $25 million a year. So I think no matter how good you do, how well you do, you get by without prospecting. If you added prospecting to your mix, you would do that much better because it's so highly effective in getting in front of opportunities.
You said something, and maybe it was an article when I was doing research, and you said the prospect that hangs up on you might be the most valuable prospect rather than the seller that always takes your call. Will you explain what you meant by that?
Absolutely. So let's say I'm making cold calls to people, and I call somebody, and I'm talking to them for the first time. They don't know me. I don't know them. And they spend 20 minutes on the phone with me. Well, aren't they spending 20 minutes on the phone with everybody that calls them? Right?
Probably.
So if I call somebody, I'll give you Harry Macklow is a great example. Harry today is a very good friend. My wife and I socialize with he and his wife. I've done 17 deals with the guy, over about $400 million of business. I called him for 2.5 years before he would take my call. And I just, I tried to get in, left message. In those days, we wrote everything down in log books. I had pages and pages of nothing but left message. So one day, about 2.5 years in, I called his office at, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. His assistant had left. He picked up the phone. I said, "Hey, Mr. Macklow, Bob Knackel from CB. We have an investment sales division over here. I'd like to come talk to you about what we." "I know, you're the guy always leaving me messages and sending me mail. What can I do for you, Bob?" And it started from there. And he was a very, very difficult guy to get into, but turned out to be one of my best clients. So I think that when you have somebody that's very, very tough to reach and you eventually can break through, that's a great client because they're talking to you and they're going to be hanging up or not speaking to other folks. So I think that hang up or the more difficult person to get to actually is a much better prospect than somebody who will talk to anybody that calls them.
Don't you also think they have a high level of maybe respect? Maybe Mr. Macklow actually respected you more. He obviously he knew who you were. He knew you had been calling. And by the time he let you in, or at least for the call, there was maybe an admiration. Maybe he didn't admit that on the first call, but there's a certain level of respect of this guy's been showing up for a long time. I'm successful. I know what it's like to be successful. This guy, he probably sees something in you that he saw in himself. I don't know, but that seems like something you might find from people that are hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, maybe it resonated with him. I mean, he started his career in real estate as a broker. So, maybe he admired that. We've actually never spoken about that. But, I think that there are statistics on this that you get through on the first call a very small percentage of time, and as you get up to the sixth or seventh call, the probability of getting through goes way up. And so you have to, establish your base of folks that you're going to go after. I always tell people the best way to explain real estate brokerage is, let's say you and I were going to go to Iceland and start a business selling rocks. I don't know anything about Iceland. I don't know if you've been there, but we're going to hop on a plane, Chris. We're going to go to Iceland and start a rock selling business.
Okay.
What are we going to do? We're going to make up a list of everybody that owns rocks, make up a list of everybody that buys rocks. If the list is too big of people who own rocks, we're going to take the top 1,000 or 1,200 owners of rocks, and we're going to try to establish relationships with them. So when they want to sell them, they hire us to sell the rocks. And then when they hire us, we're going to go talk to the people that buy rocks. It's that simple. That's real estate brokerage. I think when you have that 1,000 to 1,200 people that you've identified, you're not going to get through on the first call to them. Some of them you're going to have to work really hard to get through to. But if you've identified them as one of the people that you want to do business with at some point in the future, you have to keep hammering away and hammering away.